All of you. Myself Dr. Ranjan Solanki, I'm assistant professor and MGIM Sevadra. Just a brief introduction about what our institute stands for. This is the only institute in India which has been started by Mahatma Gandhi. And this is Bapu Kuti, where Gandhi used to stay. And actually our hospital started in the Ashram premises only, the Trinity Hospital, and then it extended, it was shifted to right now institute. And this is how our medical students start their medical career at our institute. They have orientation camp for 15 days in the ashram premises, and they follow ashramite rules and regulations throughout their 15 days. They do this prayer, morning prayer, and they are also involved in yoga and meditation. They practice in the morning. And they also do Shramdaan. Mahatma Gandhi was very fond of Shramdaan, or Shramdaan, dignity of prayer. So our medical students, working medical students, they do 1 hour Shramdaan in the ashram premises. Okay, this is good introduction. What Ranjan Gandhi we follow at our institute. We start with the presentation, which is about social and community perspective of consumption of alcohol. Being a public health person, I'll add few figures to what Dr. Himesh Desai presented about public health as far as alcohol and public health problem. Recently, as I said, the average age of consumption of alcohol is 18. But recently, few surveys have been conducted, it has been found that this average age is receding gradually. And right now, can you guess what would be the average age of where a boy? Because I saw that 30% males were consuming alcohol, test alcohol for the first time. Yeah, it's a 12 years since a boy studying in 7th standard. So it will be surprising if he carries a liquor bottle in his school bag. And in country like Mexico, the average age where the substance use is started is 9. It's a 4th standard studying boy is consuming some kind of substance. So this is the severity of substance use in worldwide. There are a few other findings that I would like to share with you. It has been projected in World Bank report 2001 that by 2020 depression is going to be the second cause of DALY loss, disability adjusted life year loss, trailing after ischemic heart disease. So by 2020 is depression that is going to be a major killer, we can say. And that time, as Sir proposed very nicely, a mental health hotline we really need such kind of hotlines, especially for depression. There are other findings like almost 4% of global health illnesses are attributed to alcohol in some way. Now since I am from Wardha is called as a Gandhian district, and it's a dry district, means selling and consuming alcohol is illegal in Wardha. But as far as legislations are concerned, history has proven that laws have failed, like laws do not work when it comes to alcohol. Some historical events I would like to share. In 1920, US recognized alcohol as a big problem, and in USA, they banned sale of alcohol. But what happened, once they banned the sale of alcohol, in every house, the alcohol started brewing. In every house, they started preparing alcohol, and consumption of alcohol actually in that duration increased in spite of the ban. Then European countries also have the same experience. So whenever they banned alcohol, actually the consumption of alcohol increased. So historically we have learned that banning alcohol is not a solution. So we have to go for some other policies. So other policies that Indian government follows is increasing the taxation on alcohol. Alcohol is heavily taxed, and what I know is 100% taxation. If you are preparing, the manufacturing cost of alcohol is 1 rupee, it is sold at 100 rupees. So it is that heavily taxed. But in spite of that heavy taxation, surprisingly, the consumption of alcohol in our country is increasing, And other challenge is the consumption of alcohol among female is increasing. That is another changing pattern. Another pattern that is changing as far as alcohol is the age is receding. For example, right now it's 12 years of age where a boy tests alcohol is gradually receding, even lower. So might be we can share figures with Mexico when our boys will start testing alcohol in 4th standard. So this is really a serious issue. Historical background, I think as has been said, historical literature is available. Like in our Vedas also, there is mention of Madira or Sompan. So it's 10,000 BC, right? From 10,000 BC, alcohol exists. All this problem do exist. So it is as old as mankind, we can say. In 1819, for the first time, Dr. Hufeland of Germany, he was the first doctor who coined this term dipsomania. So till 1819, alcohol was not considered as a social or health problem. It was considered as an individual's problem. It was not considered as a health problem. So dipsomania, it's a term which is used for all problems related to alcohol. Then in 1849, Dr. Magnus Huss was the first person to name alcohol abuse and its tendencies as alcoholism. So alcoholism, this term came into existence since 1849. As my topic of my presentation is social and community perspective of alcohol consumption, there are social factors. There is psychosocial model which says biopsychosocial model which says there are multiple factors that plays role as far as alcohol consumption is concerned. The factors could be biological, genetic, psychological or sociological, and the interaction of this factor leads to the consumption of alcohol. So social factors are social role transition. Now sociologists have studied that social role transition. For example, when a boy gets married, he is playing another role of a husband, and that pressure of change in role may bring some stress and he starts drinking. Or when he fathers a baby, again roles shifts, role change, more pressure, and he can find some pleasure in alcohol or kind of escape. He can escape in alcohol. Similarity, for example, other friends are drinking, the person do not feel it's something different. So from similarity, he finds similar. Cohesiveness, many times, just because the person wants to belong to a group which forms a cohesive group, so he starts drinking. Enabling factor, if alcohol is available in the environment, then it causes alcoholism. There are certain social theories for alcoholism. One of the theories is structural functionalism theory, which says that considers society as a structure, and to keep this society in place, we have certain norms. We have some certain moral and ethical values which are in place. And whenever those moral values or ethical values got deviated from norms, there is a social destructurization, and that leads to alcoholism, more problem of alcoholism. Social learning theory says we learn from society, we learn from friends, we learn from media, we learn from teachers, we learn from parents. So if this alcohol consumption exists in society, among parents, among friends or among media, then that leads to social alcohol consumption. Social control theory. For example, in the upbringing period, some kind of control is required, and if that control is lacking, then it leads to alcoholism. Then there is strength and opportunity theory. Strength and opportunity theory says that with upsurge of capitalism and upsurge of individualism, we are living in an era of individualism where everybody wants to be individual. That plays a role in, it breaks the social ties. We get separated from the society, we get isolated, and more we are isolated, that is going to increase the problem of alcoholism. General strength theory, it says that if there is no equity in society, if opportunities are not evenly distributed, then certain class may suffer, or marginalized class, vulnerable classes, they feel depressed, and then this problem can rise. There are individual and social reasons for which a person can consume alcohol. Inherited susceptibility, for example, father is drinking, then the kid can mimic him, or genetically it can be transmitted to him, or as we'll say in that social learning theory, he learns from his father and starts drinking. Psychophysiological vulnerability. There could be interpersonal reasons, family attitude, the way a child is bonded with his family, if there is some problem with that bonding, interpersonal conflict, peer pressure, that all can lead to alcoholism. Individual problems, academic failure, alienation, if the person doesn't feel a sense of belonging, then it can lead to alcoholism. Rebelliousness, aggressiveness, low self-control or self-regulation. Environmental factors also can lead to alcoholism. If the person doesn't feel autonomy, kind of decision-making ability, or if he experiences harassment at the workplace, if there is aggression, if there is no respect at the workplace, then it also can lead to alcoholism. Job dimensions again, if the kind of job the person is doing is a low-skill job, if there is low decision authority, high physical demands, and high motor skills, there is no enough breaks available for relaxation and recreational activity, it also can lead to alcoholism. These are four evidences for what has been said. Cooper and Russell, 1988, as per this study, 93% of the participants drank to escape their problems. Marlatt and Gordon reported that the relapsed alcoholic surveys, 3/4 admitted that their first drink was during a stressful situation. So it seems that kind of escapism theory that we've seen, temporarily mask negative emotion or escape their daily life, as per Cooper and Russell, 1988. As per this study, Labrie et al., 2007, women were more likely to drink when joining a college fraternity because of the social expectation when pledging. So peer pressure or social norms can make, this study is conducted in the Western country, so not fit in our context. Association between alcohol use and low social status, low level of education and low standards of living is documented in an Indian National Family Health Survey presented by Subramaniam. Prohibition policies are not associated with a lower proportion of drinkers among men. As we have discussed, prohibition policies do not help in reducing consumption. Actually, it increases the consumption of alcohol. Other important thing is, at personal level, what is required is self-awareness. What we have seen is, in our education system, we learn a lot about external environment, but when it comes to my own self, when it comes to recognizing my own feelings, recognizing my emotion, and how to handle those emotions and those feelings, actually at a very critical period of my life, during adolescence, that part is lacking somewhere. And what this study says, if there is lack of self-awareness, lack of self-control, then it can lead to falling prey to those temptations that are present in the environment. Now, very fortunately, National Mental Health Policy that was missing, was not there in India, has been launched on 10th October this year, 2014. And in this policy, they have emphasized the importance of life skill training during school years, which is very, very important. Now, WHO has defined 6 life skills, 6 skills which are called as life skills, which help us live life in a more productive way. Those 6 skills, as per WHO, are decision-making skill, problem-solving skill, relationship-forming skills, communication skill, interpersonal skill. So these skills are called as life skills, and in this policy, it has been emphasized that these life skills should be taught should be there in the school syllabus. The teacher should be trained, master trainer should be there who will teach these life skills to students, and these skills will be taught to children. So this is a very positive part in this policy, and let's see how this is going to be implemented, because we have a lot of policies, but implementation is a real issue. Again, socialization theory explains transmission of drinking norms, customs, and patterns. Influencing perceptions about ethnic groups' drinking patterns. ethnic groups are more likely to drink because many times they could be a vulnerable population, they could be a marginalized population, and they can feel that they're not getting the kind of opportunity they should get, and they can assume to drinking. So discrimination, something needs to be done with discrimination, racism, oppression, social injustice, ethnocentrism, economic instability. These all needs are to be addressed if you want to address the issue of alcoholism. So alcoholism is not a very simple thing. We have to take steps at all level, at policy level, at educational reforms are required, and the kind of cultural change we are experiencing, we need to ask ourselves really how, in what direction the culture should move. So how these things, discrimination, racism, oppression, social injustice, ethnocentrism, economic instability, they all lead to pain, fear, anxiety, depression, frustration, low self-esteem, economic difficulty, secondary leading to alcoholism. Now, just one slide about what can be done for this. Neighbor empowerment is very important. See, we have been talking about financial capital. Other two capitals which are also very important is cultural capital and social capital. I think we don't discuss much about social capital and cultural capital. Social capital is actually the number of friends and number of ties we have with our family, with the society. Because the studies say that this bonding is very important. The way kids are brought up, if they are isolated, they only are using technology and they don't have human friends. They have more technology friends. They find friend in Facebook and all, and they lack the human relationship. Then they're more likely to experience the stress and start alcohol drinking. So school education reforms are required, social capital is required, family empowerment, neighbor empowerment is required, is very important. National Mental Health Policy 2014 is very positive step towards that. 58th World Health Assembly, May 2005, also has emphasized to develop, implement and evaluate effective strategies and programs for reducing the negative health and social consequences of harmful use of alcohol. We have already discussed this. These are the references, and thank you very much for this session.
Thank you, Dr. Solanki, for your very informative lecture. You have focused on the psychosocial aspects of alcohol use, psychosocial factors leading to alcohol, and what can be the different psychosocial interventions which could be used for reducing the use of alcohol. I would like to invite any questions from the audience. Yeah, please. Please come to the dais.
Yeah. What did I understand from your question? How genetics affects alcoholism? There are many studies conducted, epidemiological studies, like those. The prevalence of drinking, actually, India is very lacking very much in the figures, all mental health figures. Like we don't have exact figures of anxiety, depression, or alcohol consumption. Many times you have to rely on what our Western countries have done. See, there are a lot of studies which says that if father is drinking, it's very likely that the son also will start drinking. But what I personally feel is we have discussed social learning theory. So it could be might not be genetically transmitted, but how the son is learning from his father, how his father learns to cope up with stress. We learn this thing from our parents. We learn communication skill, we learn to cope up stress management. All these skills are not formally taught to us. We learn these skills from our parents. So this is how the kids learn from their parents to cope up with stress. And if they're coping up with the stress in negative way with alcoholism, the kids are also going to learn the same way. So this is one of the reason. And there is some factor of genetic factor is also could be there, but these other factors also that can lead to genetic transmission of alcoholism.
Don't you think that if father is drinking alcohol, then son will think that my father is not working, my father is beating my mother, so I should not do it? don't you think that would be a positive
But
thing?
yeah, this is how this is how the son will process the information. It depends on his personality also, his socialization or his development, his social development. So it will differ, but many times not all sons are that responsible, or we can't expect that from. This is what studies says. These are in individual things we can differ.
Yeah, there is a strong genetic component to alcohol dependence. Of course, the familial and environmental factors also have significant contribution, but genetic contribution has been well established in the
Yeah.
genetic studies.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, madam, please.
You have said it beautifully, and I must say this question is very good. Many years ago, 30 years ago, when I came to Dehradun, I don't know, am I audible? Yes. I came to Dehradun, I had two daughters, and my one daughter was about 3 years old, and the other was 4.5. So we were staying in a hotel, and my daughters asked the bearer, "Bearer, हमारे gin or rum लेके आइए." I kept quiet because my husband was very fond of drinking, you know, and he understood what he wanted. He brought Campa Cola 2 bottles. My husband used to smoke. He was a chain smoker. So they thought that's very nice because the father is handsome, good, you know. So they took up the studs that were lying and they started. What I'm trying to bring the message, what she has beautifully said, these two young girls. Then I went back home and told my husband, look at this, you know, what these two girls had. You must start decreasing it. And as he beautifully said, genetic does play a part. So your environment, your genes and others have got a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I think we come to the end of this presentation.